And now, back for the third time in a row, and the third year going, please welcome your host with the most, Sam Harrison. Well, thank you very much for the warm welcome. Yes, hello again to all of you fine and fair people across the interwebs and video platforms. It has been seen I have returned for the third time once again to provide you with another swing and discussions of delving into the opinions and the ideals predictions for the 2025 edition of the now annual Game Awards, where this year seems to be a bit more of a difficult outcome as compared to last year, with more in DLC and indie game domination was last year. There's quite a big selection of massive AAA titles and indie darlings that have flex their muscles and come together for another year, and these selections have been seeing what will come from the ordeal of predicting who will take home the statuettes on the night. And of course, we may not be all the categories, but we'll still give a quick prediction on some of them I don't have too much information on, but also delve into the discussion of some titles and games I predict that may get a brand new look or hope to be revealed throughout the event, as well as see if there's any issues that could be fixed at this year's event that pops up over the last few years. But I think we have done enough explaining introductions, so let's get to the categories and work backwards all the way to the big award of the night. So let's begin.
I will be your voice, and we will redefine what it means to rule the airwaves.
So our first selection is one that I normally don't have too much to focus on. That is usually in the area of the esports categories. As one that doesn't really overly watch the content of those, I can still appreciate the groups that play and practice their way to victory or prove they are the best overall in certain games. And while I can't say much in either section, to give a quick stab in the dark of my choices would be as such. For best esports game, I'm going to say League of Legends and Counter-Strike, esports team, Liquid PH, and esports player, Zywoo or Forsaken. Those are the ones I would not have too much knowledge in, but it feels like it's like case these seem like the logical winners, but I really don't know. But anyways, we start the first one I can give a focus on, that is in the content creator section, as they may have different areas of appeal and different audiences, but these five are seen as the strongest and highlights from this year's list, and they are Sagel, Kai Cenat, Moist Critical, Sakura Miku, and the Burnt Peanut. So all of these have their appeal in the field, and each of them have some appealing qualities, and while I am certain many of them have their overall appeal, I can make them down to the likes of Cenat or Charlie, as either of them are probably the most well-known figures on the internet at this point. They have a presence that many respect and enjoy engaging their content with, and I see either of them having a strong chance of winning overall. I'm not saying that the other three are terrible. I say they're lovely and entertaining people, and maybe the case of knowing these two more, but I'm going with them at the moment, but I'm sure whoever gets it is highly deserving of the role. So my choice for best content creators are going to be Kai Cenat or Moist Critical.
I'm so excited.
Now, while most of these titles are for the games of the last 12 months that have entertained, complained, and debated about, the second wave of the category and focus on the ones that will be ones that many are looking forward to in the future, anticipating, excited, all for that good stuff, or getting their hands on at various prices, hopefully not affected by these goddamn tariff prices. And these five are chosen for some of the most anticipated titles, which include 007 First Life from IOI Interactive, Grand Theft Auto 6 from Rockstar Games, Marvel's Wolverine from Insomniac, Resident Evil Requiem from Capcom, and The Witcher 4 from CD Projekt Red. I mean, do I even really need to explain which one these will win, because it's obvious from the demand and anticipation of the follow-up, which is of course Resident Evil, but I kid of course. That will be in my top 3 choices alongside the angry Canadian man, but we will all know they're going to, through the delays and the other stuff, there's the tough contest to go against the next entry of Grand Theft Auto, and we'll be surprised with this loss. So my choice for this is Grand Theft Auto 5, my runner-ups being Wolverine and Resident Evil Requiem. Now, before we actually get into talking on actual games, we need to talk on the ones that have been adapted into other media beyond having control of the characters, and this is of course with the medium of film and television. And it was seen that while one is missing in this list, which I'll get to in a minute, we do have a selection of 5 choices to choose from, and they are a Minecraft movie from Warner Bros., Devil May Cry from Netflix, Splinter Cell Death Watch from Netflix as well, The Last of Us Season 2 from HBO, and Until Dawn from Sony Pictures. Now, I did say there was one missing, and it's the one that I felt they could have easily been an extra nomination, and one that many feel would have been a better choice for one or two of these, and that is of course with the third Sonic the Hedgehog film, as it released after last year's event and would fit the criteria for this one. So I question, why was it snubbed? But it's a case that I feel is unlikely to be a surprise entry. I feel it would come down to 2 in particular due to the demand and discussion of these projects this year, with the first big one being the fall acclaimed HBO adaptation of Last of Us, that while Season 2 has been a bit more of a mixed outcome compared to Season 1, it has still seen appeal and acclaim and likely will work better with the upcoming season to connect that story. And the other one is of course the world's most popular sandbox game of Minecraft after its massive box office potential, its meme potential, and the living nightmares for ushers and cinema staff cleaning up after the mess after every screening. But I see as one of these two taking the title overall, and if Sonic had a chance in it, it would have been seen as a freeway battle for those. So my choices is between Last of Us Season 2 or Minecraft movie.
I'm gonna go share this with the world.
Now, if there's one thing that has seen the sense of a change and focus every year, has been the case of games trying to help become more of a thing and appeal for people that may or may not have the ability to play them properly, and it's becoming more accessible with them, and help those that may have a bit more of a difficult outcome when it comes to playing video games. And it seems with these 5 titles, there are ones that have went above and beyond this year to help make them easier for difficult outcomes, with those nominees being Assassin's Creed Shadows, Atomfall, Doom the Dark Ages, EA Sports FC 26, and South of Midnight. Now, most of these games provide the usual elements of bigger text and on-screen narration for those with hearing or slight difficulties, but I'd see it as being a case of 2 titles that could appeal in these elements of helping those that may not have the most verse in games and want to play titles like these but may have a hit or noticeable disability. I say with either the latest AC title having the most diverse list of accessibility options, from helping with hard of reading, blindness, and assistance in other forms of difficulty, or those with fear or hemophobia in the aspects of blood dismemberment, and the other I would appeal with would be the one similar aspects of those would provide the new narrative tale of South of Midnight, and I feel it would be well worth a win for either of them in this category. And I do hope we will see a studio with more AAA games or more indie titles take this approach and make games more accessible for all if possible. So my choice in this is both being South of Midnight or Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Are you ready to die? No? Then I'll come back later.
Now, of course, there are some games that may be all for playing on your own, and then likes of those would go in the realm of storytelling or narrative games. But these are the case that there's always room to have a friend or two, whether on the couch or across the vast areas of the information superhighway, and friendships may vary. And this is the case with the multiplayer titles, and these 5 nominations have proven as being some of the strongest for this year, which include Arc Raiders, Battlefield 6, Elden Ring Night Rain, Peak, and Split Fiction. All these I can for sure see some appeal and acclaim in many forms, from your fare of looter shooters and boots on the ground combat, or a free team clan working together to save a land affected by a fog. But I have to give the appeal of what I see as maybe being the big possible strongest competition besides the appeal of Arc, I see may come down to either Peak or Split Fiction. As with Peak, this was all over the socials and YouTube in the summer months and the start of fall from what I saw. I played a bit, and I called my good friends and say, when is that Peak session happening? We've said we were going to play it, and I'm still waiting for it. I have my game ready, booted up on Steam as it is. And they still provide many new updates and features as well. And when possible for the likes of Split Fiction, this comes to this studio being a GameAwards darling, with the last game being made from them of Takes Two, a Game of the Year winner. And it's seen as my claim of a story co-adventure across genres and realities, and I can see either one winning, but maybe having that slight edge to peel a win. But I would kind of hark as well and getting the chance, the base of being a more recent title, but I hope it'd be more the first 2 options. So my focal choice would be Peak or Split Fiction, with my runner-up being Arc Raiders.
Here we go.
In the next award, we'll be seeing us either starting engines or lacing up our boots, because it's time for things to get either physical or very fast. And it's a section that focuses the best titles of the year in the realm of sports or racing titles. And the focus nominees for this year include EA Sports FC 26, F1 25, Mario Kart World, Rematch, and Sonic Racing Crossworlds. So there's a case that many games can have their appeal, such as the good majority of people in the UK and Ireland every September getting their newest football game from EA, playing it non-stop for about 2 weeks, and then say it's not as good as it was last year. Then still play it fully, and then by the next entry of the series next year, and the cycle continues again. To me, I think it will come down to the classic rivalry of the 90s and newest racing titles of either Mario and Sonic being the one that will be the battle overall. That while each has their appeal from the love of the Mario Kart franchise with the new features 24-point races, items, and open world, or Sonic with the multi-dimensional races and many crossover characters and stages to race upon, I see it as being either one. Likely, I see Sonic getting a slight edge over Mario as it's more accessible, in the case many will hope Nintendo walks away with no awards this year, though I don't mind the smaller wins for them. I still see a race and photo finish for one of gaming's well-known rivalries. So in this case, my choice is either between Mario Kart World or Sonic Racing Crossworlds.
For 3, profit.
Now, while the last titles were more the best and to be the fastest, there is one other element to it that does come into discussion sometimes with those games, and that is the approach to plan out a strategy, whether it's to plan a battle, a business, or make sure it does not end in a bloodbath, as we will be seeing the ideals of mundane tasks or changing a story or history in the focus of sim strategy games. And these were the titles that stood the most overall this year, with them being Final Fantasy Tactics, The Inval's Chronicles, Jurassic World Evolution 3, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Tempest Rising, The Altars, and 2 Point Museum. This does have quite the array of options to choose from the ideals of a game of combat, high fantasy, history, curators of history, clones, or dinosaurs, and there's quite the array of appeal. If I had to say ones that may appeal the most to see the top where I see this popular games of Sid Meier's making a focus a possible win, like many other titles in the franchise across many different award shows in the past. The latest remaster Final Fantasy Tactics may bring the appeal back to the fans that love the original version, or introduce a whole new wave to the entry, and Jurassic World, because who doesn't like dinosaurs? And another case the film franchise isn't that popular, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to run the dino park of their dreams, and I see either of these three being the most likely or most known to have a strong chance to make it the overall appealing entry to win with clear strategy. But I'm going to say case for the winner choice between Civ 7 and Jurassic World Evolution 3, and the runner-up being Final Fantasy Tactics.
It's all about family, Tom.
Now, sometimes with games, they can be a bit too overly daunting, scary, difficult, or maybe too violent for some. And it could be the case that maybe now and again, we can have little titles that are more lighter in tone, that still provide a little challenge in the process. This is where the family game category comes into focus, as we have 6 titles bound out to prove with reign supreme in the family game night approach, with those games being Donkey Kong Bonanza, Lego Party, Lego Voyagers, Mario Kart World, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and Split Fiction. So they all have some form of appeal and focus in their elements that maybe appeal from the already discussed rivalry in the racing scene, or the blending of genres in the co-op adventure, or an option of little pieces of the big journey, or a battle to see who's the ultimate minifigure. And while I see 2 previous titles as strong contenders, I think for me this will be one that will likely be the sole possible clean win for Nintendo, with the Big Kong himself as the first solo adventure for the character and the first 3D since the late 90s, and the title has been great appeal, charm, and fun to be had with. Getting to smash every surface of the world is always good fun, and I've been enjoying my time with the title as well. Sure, I can see the sense of the blue blur, the splitting of fiction having a chance, but I do see this as maybe being the win for good old DK. So my choice of winner instead of in this for focus would be Bonanza, with runner-ups being Sonic Racing Cross Worlds or Split Fiction as possible their winners.
Hey, great work, Mac. Now let's take down the next circuit.
Now, have you had some aggression and want to get it out of an array of emotions that you have bottled up and just need a way to let them all out? Well, I see this next category of helping with this greatly, as we are now into the arena of the fighting games, and these titles have a array of providing a fair and dirty fight, and those games include 2KXO, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage. So in the instance with the fighting titles, there's been a weird approach to this, as a lot of them are mainly the focus titles that released a year or two ago, or ones that made up of compilation packs of previous game titles, and it was a weird option to choose from that I tried as best I can to make a choice with these. I felt in the case that while your Capcom fighters and your Mortal Kombat have their appeal, I feel maybe we'll with some other classic series like Fatal Fury or even a possible newcomer like 2XKO get their chance and appeal and hope for a win with them. Sure, I could be off completely with this with these collections provided more of the appeal, but I guess we'll see in due time. So my choice is either 2XKO or Fatal Fury City of the Wolves.
Let's battle!
Now for these next games, I've always made a case that we know sometimes the real world can be tedious, monotonous, and a fair bit boring. But what if there was a way to take you from our world and put you in a realm of giant monsters, high fantasy, or even the far reaches of space? Well, you could do so with roleplay in a park or over a game of D&D with mates. But in this case, we're talking on the games of RPGs. And since with these 5 titles, they seem to appeal the strongest, with the games being nominated this year are Avowed, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, and The Outer Worlds 2. Now, while I was looking at the list and working my deals of all this, there was a game that I was wondering if was initially given the chance to be an option on this one, and that was the remake of Oblivion from earlier this year, but I felt maybe because it was a remake, it might have went against it, but we were seen as a solid 6-game option. But besides that, I could see it going between a sense of more recent title like Outer Worlds. Kingdom Come could also have a chance giving a surprise presence to some of the locations, but I think this will be one of the first big wins for the most nominated of the event this year, which is Claire Obscure, given again the title, but it will be down to see if those come about it, but I feel maybe the best RPG to be this year, but those other 2 maybe a close second. So my probably choice winner would probably be Claire Obscure, with also possible winners of runner-ups being Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or Outer Worlds 2.
I want to go on a journey.
Now, many a journey of game titles can have that sense of being all out craziness, full of events happening left, right, and center, but sometimes in this case, while that is important, it also comes with a journey and spirit of adventure, and it looks like with these titles, the sense of action adventure may do just that, with those nominations this year being Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, Hollow Knight Silk Song, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Split Fiction. Now, in this instance, I do have a clear focus into the project. I feel in terms of action adventure, and for a long wait being worth it, if there was ever a title to win this, I feel Silk Song is probably due its flowers. The first of a few I can see this category. There is a bit of a mixed debate as well as possible runner-up focus in this, as I feel Ghost of Yotai is a solid choice for it in a story of revenge across a beautiful landscape journey. Initially I felt it was with Death Stranding 2 as well, but I think for that latter one I may need to alter that runner-up and give it with the whip-cracking archaeologist instead, as it perfectly encapsulates an action adventure. I mean, have you seen the film? But I give it a focus a long wait for Silk Song, I may just give it that slight edge, but I could be wrong in this instance. So my choices between Hollow Knight Silk Song, Ghost of Yotai, or Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Now the animators are gonna have to draw all this fire.
But if the likes of adventure does not suit your fancy and you just much rather be running, gunning, and blowing things up in many different ways, then perhaps the focus of the best action games may do just that. I feel it'll be quite the array to choose from, with those nominations this year being Battlefield 6, Doom the Dark Ages, Hades 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. So there is a selection of choice here for the likes of boots on the ground combat, underworld battles, demon smashing, and the way of the ninja. And each of these have their appeal, and to me, I feel that may be in the realm of the titles that have been the focus revolving with the underworld or demons. That may be the major focus of success here, either the newest entry of Doom or the long-awaited sequel of Hades as the strongest, with the latter maybe just slightly beating it out, with both still being very solid options for the purpose of all-out action. I feel in the case of the title that could have a chance for runner-up could be the newest Battlefield, as has been proven the efforts of the last few weeks and has proven success better than Call of Duty this year, so I'm sure it could have a chance, but I feel it'd be the Battle of the Doomslayer or an Underworld God. So my choice for winners, Hades 2 or Doom the Dark Ages, with my runner-up being probably Battlefield 6.
Virtual Boy.
Now for more niche-based products, and the focus is the next one I feel may be time to enter a new way to play these games, or maybe a requirement, as it's time we take on the games of the virtual reality scene, with the 5 that have proven their worth as the strongest this year, which include Alien Rogue Incursion, Arcane Age, Ghost Town, Marvel's Deadpool VR, and The Midnight Walk. All of them have their own sense of appeal, from a stop-motion FPS, a spooky horror ghosts, monsters to battle, the powerful organism of the far cosmos, and of course, a foul-mouthed superhero. In a case, I feel that maybe the recency of Deadpool may affect that option, and given as well this was nominated and announced the same week that the game was only coming out, so maybe recency bias could also be a case in this regards. It is a case that the world too recent and many have not a chance to probably decide on that working, then I can see the likes of 2 others as a possible winner or runner-up, and that is with the likes of Alien being what it feels like a new take follow-up on the Isolation from the look at approach until that proper sequel releases, and the likes of Midnight Walk that looks really visually appealing, has a nice aesthetic and style to stop motion, and just seems like a solid contender to win. So the likes of Merc with the Mouth may be a little too short of notice to decide on the win, then those other 2 I see as another option for VR win. But in this case, for my winner option, I'm going to see between Deadpool VR or Midnight Walk, my runner-up also being Alien Rogue Incursion.
Hello, Moto.
But if you don't want to play on your big bulky consoles, but rather cannot afford a portable one like the Steam Deck or Switch 2, then I would say the next category would appeal more in the realms of this, bring the question of this are also marketed games to play on the little tech item always in your pocket. That's of course the case with mobile games. In this case, you don't, I wonder, you guys don't have phones? But these 5 nominations see the strongest appeal from the games on the go, which include Destiny Rising, Persona 5 The Phantom X, Sonic Rumble, Inazume, Purdy Derby, and Wuthering Waves. Now each of these titles have their own fans and do have their niche style and genres to play and approach across these mini access forms. While I can't say much on the likes of each myself, I feel this one may be a solid take for Wuthering Waves, as the most well-known and these types of games like Genshin that I see having the broader appeal. If I had to choose one that I see more of a possible runner-up, then I would not say that I would say no to the likes of Sonic Rumble having that chance, given the mobile ports games for this Blue Blur have seen a fair bit of success over the years from many different releases, so I can see either one of them being the perfect games to approach this appeal overall, and probably drain your phone battery the quickest. So in this cards, I'm going to say either between Wuthering Waves or Sonic Rumble for best mobile game.
Alright, so welcome everybody to the meeting of the beers.
Next on these new titles are ones that have always been released over the last few years, but they have been the focus where still giving new additions and updates in many forms, and brings the community together in solidarity from the overall process in the ways that many games strive to. And for those that are seen with the best community support is with either Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, or No Man's Sky. Now these games have shown that just because the game has been released, got great acclaim, and have shown appeal back then, that they were not going to just leave without providing more for the fans. And while many have had their share or may not be overly seen as much, I feel the possible strongest of these titles could be the game you're darling of Baldur's Gate, or the Battle Royale juggernaut of Fortnite. But if the case the latter doesn't get the run here, I could see it with the next title, but I guess we'll see from those 2 being the likely winner. So my choice for ongoing for community support is either Baldur's Gate 3 or Fortnite. Now, comparatively with the last award, the community support is one that I see as being connected with this. It also comes with the benefit that some games may not be packaged deal on its own, but some will continue to be given new features and updates, and with these 5 donations that prove to be the ongoing aspect, those ones have proven to be a success, with these this year being Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, or No Man's Sky. Now, as alluded to in the previous category, I said the case the latter title was not to win. The other title I see is the likes of Fortnite probably getting the win in this category, as the team do have new releases, skins, characters, and chapters every couple of days, and seems to be a fan base coming back every few days or so. So see this as a possibility of a win. Initially, I just felt that Final Fantasy was one to prove their worth, but I feel this had its share and could be a top 3 option, and then felt one that has still seen a lot of appeal and boost with new heroes and skin types is with the newest game Marvel Rivals, has seen a lot of appeal back then and now up for the last year year of its release. So I see as any of these winning, but I feel likely one to obtain it from the constant appearance and chance is with Fortnite. So my chance of case win here is either Fortnite or Rivals, with a runner-up being Final Fantasy XIV. Now it's time we take a look at the titles that have the potential of this being the starting career for many in the games making scene, as well be seeing their chance to flex their muscles and prove their skills from their debut indie titles. And in the case we initially had 5, but it was a battle for 4 now, with one title that decided to opt out for instances, but we'll talk about it now. Those games being Blueprints from Dogu Bomb and Raw Fury, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 from Sandfall Interactive and Kelper Interactive, Despelit from Julian Corredo, Sebastian Valuba and Panic, and Dispatch from Ad Hoc Studios. Now, it's a case of this year there has been a bit of a controversial debate about one of the titles in this, and the other one that was the 5th tile of the awards been taken out. Not for any malice, but the developer of Megabonk, who was the 5th game, emphasized that he had made other games beforehand, and politely asked for this game to be removed, which seems fair on their end, but the whole debate on this as well. And the controversy being with Claire Obscure, as yes, it is an indie game debut, but I would harken to record that this game would more fit in the mold of a AAA tile than with indie, and would be one that I would be more against. If anything in this section I see is come down to 2 tiles, if Claire does not sweep these as well, and as with the game of Blueprints, which was a massive tile discussion and puzzle solving earlier this year, and the more recent title of Dispatch for its episodic telltale style narrative with appealing characters and cast involved, as you were big talking points of indie in the last few weeks and months, and see them having the strongest aesthetic overall of a win. I say it could go either direction, but would be fine with either of them winning over Claire Obscure, and let that latter one get an award for another category. So probably my choice in cases between Dispatch or Blueprints for debut indie. Now after your debut in the indie scene, you could be a case that may go off to some bigger success with the likes of heading into the bigger studio or AAA titles soon after, but sometimes you may keep in the roots of where you started out, as the style and appeal may fit you more. And in the case of this, indie titles making the splash in this category, we're having a choice of 6 titles eyeing for that trophy, which include this year being Absolem from Guard Crush Games, Super Monks and Dodom, Ball X Pit from Candy Sun Devolver Digital, Blueprints from Dogu Bomb and Rain Fury, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 from Sandfall Interactive and Kelp Interactive, Hades 2 from Supergiant Games, and Hollow Knight Silksong from Team Cherry. And like I said in the last indie category, while I can understand E33 being an indie title, I feel it fits more in the focus of a AAA game instead from the approach of this title, and see it as a battle for the other 5. Blueprints will be to me the runner-up in the top 3, but I feel it would come down to the 2 indie darlings of Hades and Hollow Knight as the competition of this category this year, as they were the titles that were high anticipated, and I feel it was all the time and effort waiting for Silksong gets overlooked, then it will be very questionable in that approach. For each offer appeal, expectations met, and just an entertainment value overall, and could see either of them winning the title in this category. So my choice is going to be about between Hollow Knight Silksong or Hades 2 as the winner, with the runner-up being the Blueprints.
Emotional, damn it!
Now we all share a different feeling and tones with all of these games, and a lot of them have to do with their appeal and the different approaches to emotions and stuff, but sometimes these games provide quite an impact in the ways they entertain or leave us a lasting approach in the narrative tone. These 5 titles have proven that this year is some of the year's strongest and leaving the biggest impact, which include Consumi from Jenny Zhao's Hazai, A.D. Thompson and Hexecutable, Despelit from Julian Cordero, Sebastian Valuba and Panic, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage from Don't Nod Montreal and Don't Nod, South of Midnight from Compulsion Games and Xbox Game Studio, and Wanderstop from Ivy Road and Annapurna and Entertainment. Now many of these games have their forms of appeal and focus and their differences, their impact for games that focus on adulthood for women in many forms, the life of the developer from the game during a crucial time, themes of messaging for diverse groups, the cultural impact for some of the past and present, and a game that takes the cozy game genre and wraps it in the form of focused ideals of burnout and mental health, and each of these have their appeal in different ways. Now, the one I have seen the most mixed on is Lost Records. While the emotional depth and themes of LGBTQ have been the highlight, some have seen it as a disappointing follow-up to Life is Strange, as well as the basis on the woke messaging in terms of the game, a word that seems to have lost all sense of the meaning from overuse and misuse of the word. Now, in general, I am leaving a bit more on the last 2 of South of Midnight and Wanderstop as the strongest. They have some unique and appeal and tone and in general for all this, and have the sense of some praise in how they go about it, as well as the change of genre of all of it, as well as the little bit deep connection to the history of the culture and how it can be move people, and the ideas are reflecting on one's personal life and start to process the issues of life over a nice hot brew, but maybe the ones that had leave the strongest impacts to me. So I'm going between South of Midnight or Wanderstop for Game of Impact.
Don't hurt the face, I'm an actor.
Now we get down to more of the technical side of things with these awards, but we do have one more that is less tech and more talk, as of course some of these titles do have their fair share of performances and focus to it all, and I've seen a fair selection of ideals for this year's nominations, with the top 6 eyeing the prize being Ben Starr as Verso from Clair Obscur, Charlie Cox as Gustav from Clair Obscur, Erika Ishii as Atsu from Ghost of Yotai, Jennifer English as Mali from Clair Obscur, Konatsu Kato as Hiniko from Silent Hill F, and Troy Baker as Indiana Jones from The Great Circle. So it seems this year has been looking one side heavily in the performances in the title of E33, but given that it does have a lot of big name stars attached to it, that it seems likely it was going to become a challenge to see who will win on top. While the other games' performances are nothing to scoff at as they are solid, I feel in this case it may come down to either Charlie or Jennifer as the winner. Overall, it seems that most online have proven the same agreement that it may be the one of these two performances. Sure, it could be a surprise difference and a different tile gets the gold, but I'm sure we'll get a better idea by the event. So my choice either Charlie Cox or Jennifer English for Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Okay.
Now, we are probably into the focus some technical or structural elements to give a game that starts up the sounds of the title, or sure you have a nice visuals, but without the sounds it makes it a little eerie, and having the balance of that right tone and aesthetic I can see is working in its favor, and it seems these 5 have proven the use of the best beneficial means of audio and sound design, which include Battlefield 6, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, and Silent Hill F. In each game they're used in the form where maybe noticeable sound cues of shooting of bullets, the more nuanced like the sounds of the environmental reacting to blowing winds and crushing waves, or creepy things that move in the fogs or behind darkened corners. A lot of them have their distinct feel to it all. Now, in all sense of things, while I am sure Expedition uses sound greatly and see that as being a top free option, I feel my own sense of choice I will be going more in that it's a bit more in the east of the world, and usually see sound working the best in the form of the lush, gorgeous environments of ancient Asia with Yotai, or the creepy atmospheric elements of the Return to Silent Hill franchise that sound and audio works the best to make you feel your hair stand up on end. And I feel either of them working to really get you in the tone and environment of it all. I see either of them having the strongest chance, but whatever be the sense of the sweep of E33, I can't fully tell yet. But in my case, my choice are Ghost of Yotai Silent Elf as the winner, with the runner-up being Clair Obscur Expedition 33. While audio can have its appeal, it also comes in the case of tone or moment that can be amplified better in the form of the musical scores of all of its somber moments to amazing fights, so the score can really set the tone in motion. And it seems with these tiles of musicians amplifying many moments across the title, to include the following: Christopher Larkin for Hollow Knight Silk Song, Darren Korb for Hades 2, Lauren Testard for Clair Obscur 33, Toma Otawa for Ghost of Yotai, and Woodkid and Ludwig Vorisel for Death Stranding 2. Each composer of this task make the focus their hard work in making many tracks and scores of the game stand out in many different ways to help distinguish many tones and styles and setting that the game present to the player across the runtime. In this case, I would put it down to the form of the grand scale or moments that stand out. I see this come down to Hollow Knight or E33 as the strongest of the group, and then Hades not too far behind, as these of them have some form of tone that could be a case of the grand battles or fights as you face across the desolate land of Hollow Knight, and the vast journey and battles you may face to save the land from the Paintress. Each of them give their tone and style the best they be given. Now, to say all these scores to these games are not fantastic, but they have their unique appeal in many ways, and I see them as the most grand overall of these 3 choices. So my winner is going to be between Hollow Knight or Clair Obscur, my runner-up being Hades 2.
We gotta get this framed.
Now, besides your performances and your sounds, visuals, and all else, the important factor any in all types of games, and has to be said about the direction of the art and visuals that games may go into, and it has seen a variety from the realistic to the distinct style, and the colorfully striking aesthetic, and these 5 have been proven as some of the best this year has to offer, which in the case includes Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, Hades 2, and Hollow Knight Silk Song. Each have something unique and stylish to provide in the worlds they may come across, from beautiful worlds they have corrupted by powerful being with paint, a world destroyed by a thing known as the Strand, a vast luscious part of Japan, the vast mazes and forms of the underworld, or a world corrupted by silk and song. And there's something that has to be seen that proves something overall that's truly amazing. Now, while I love the rich artistry of the world E33 and Yotai, I have to give the appraisal to the artistry of Silk Song that was all done and made from of 3 artists at the studio, which much some of the extra detail provided by freelance artists over the last near decade to present to making some of the best they can be. And I feel it paid off absolutely greatly. While those other 2 helpers have their appeal, I had to give it to the trio overall for making something of the weight all the worth it. So my top choice is probably going to be with Silk Song for art direction, but the runner-ups be Clair Obscur and Ghost of Yotai.
Who the f wrote this movie?
Now, not every title has nominated this event will have this, but sometimes many game titles from these events will be more than often see them take a crack at the form of narratives, where they will have the appeal or maybe have people engage from the opening seconds to the closing credits. And these 5 titles focus the ones proved to be the big success in the most structurally solid and engaging narratives, which include Clair Obscur 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and Silent Hill F. Now, these titles will have something that at least sets them apart from the realm of creepy horror in Japan, a time of knights and lords in the medieval setting, a revenge narrative to the backdrop of feudal Japan, the restoring of the world in connection through the power of couriers and package delivery, or to save the world from those that have been wiped from existence from a powerful being based on the ages of those they paint. And each gives something that provides that is seen as either engaging, heartfelt, scary, or something that make you think after playing through it all. Now I could see in the case for more in the approach of narrative, I see Clair Obscur having a solid choice overall in winning this one, though I will not neglect in most cases the mad crazy mind that is Mr. Kojima with his narrative that initially after a point he had no idea what he was on about from the first game, now seems to have a solid base, an idea for what it all means, and it's about with the follow-up and seeing the likes it could be one that sees the strongest winner of the narrative. So my choice in winner is Clair Obscur 33 and Death Stranding 2 on the beach as a runner-up.
Moving right along.
Now when you have these aspects and structures put all together, I can see this as being the focus, the ones pulling the reins and making sure that the tiles all going the right direction to success. They may have hit some hurdles or bumps in the road, but work through them to the end to create something of the tiles with some great show direction. With the 5 nominations this year, including Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, Ghost Yotai, Hades 2, and Split Fiction. Now I say that when it comes to the direction, that when you have something in mind that may seem ambitious or make as a follow-up to something that would seen as that go even further and works out better in your favor, then I see this as a possible factor in making things work the most in many different ways. This I can see with the likes of Clair Obscur may have that chance again to obtain another possible award here, something that essentially came out of nowhere a few months ago and took the gaming scene by storm is really well worth to say something in this aspect and could see it as a possible victory in this aspect. However, I also see 2 others having a strong chance in their form, of one being a follow-up to the indie game Darling from a couple years ago and showed that they improved on what worked and made it even better, then the other would be another Game of the Year winning studio with Split Fiction, a title mixing 2 genres and then going completely wild with the concepts and ideas from across the game's narrative story, giving me a case of feeling each of them could work in its favor and see either of those 3 I mentioned as a contender in proper game direction from this year. So my choices are Clair Obscur 33 with runner-ups being Hades 2 or Split Fiction.
That's what we've been waiting for!
And finally, after nearly 20 plus categories and giving as quick as thoughts and opinions as I could with all these ones, it's time for the big one. The big title of the night where the best of the best are chosen to prove which of these 6 games will walk away with the coveted Game of the Year title in a year of tough competition and fantastic games. With the 6 for this year to prove their worth are Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now this is one I've culminated back and forth on and get some insight for some others as well, as I see it coming down to a freeway battle between the long-awaited DLC turned full game of Silksong, the Underworld sequel of Hades, and the surprise hit of Clair Obscur. The other 3 entries are all solid, but I see as a close race with those, and as a case I have noticed a bit of a trend as of late with the Game of the Year winners in this category, where they seem to be always the best and highest scoring one in Metacritic getting the win. And going with that analysis, it may be for Hades 2 that may surprisingly win this. This is what I've seen the last few years to happen to Astrobot last year, Baldur's Gate 2 years ago, and Elden Ring 3 years ago, even as far back to Last of Us 5 years ago. So we're not saying he's out of the race, but if anything in this regards, I'm saying it's going down to the highest paid DLC turned full game, an indie darling sequel, or surprise title of adventure in a freeway battle for victory this year. So my choice for Game of the Year winner is either Hollow Knight Silksong, Hades 2, or Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Would you display this as a trophy?
So that was with all the categories and sections to give a focus on and predicting what we see as a form of any my elaborate or wild predictions for the Game Awards. And I could just go straight into the issues and predictions of what may be unveiled at the event, but in this case, I feel maybe well worth to give a little insight into a few other perspectives from this show. As well, for this case, I decided to give a little bit more of an expanding or opinions for this award show, and I get some insights from others about their opinion and choices for the winners of each category. Maybe even some predictions as to what could be announced at the event. The results were slightly underwhelming, but I get at least 1 or 2 opinions and choices for all this. While I've heard the likes of the opinions, different choices of the likes, and mainly some of the push for Hollow Knight to be the big winner and the sense of being against Nintendo games this year, even though the consoles released some proper bangers this year, then I will defend in some being good like DK Bonanza and Mario Kart. I didn't want DK. And I've heard a few for Death Stranding for some awards wins, so there's a mix and just giving insight for some choices and opinions from a few. The only one I could see that thankfully gave me was my friend Alice, who gave me their insight into their choice for the Game of the Year, and they see coming down to Hollow Knight, Clair Obscur, and Death Stranding as their freeway battle for big win of the year for Game of the Year, with their push for push going for On the Beach, as they haven't played too much on Silksong to really give it a fair comment on it all, and the likes of E33, they specify they really liked it, but they see it as winning the other categories, which I do see as a fair and reasonable opinion to it all, so I thank them for offering their opinion and choices and all. I wonder person give their opinion of like a prediction for one of the games that might be announced, which we'll talk about in a minute, which they're hoping for a Bloodborne 2 announcement, which Could happen, well, we'll see. Now, I did hope for a bit of a longer section here, but I appreciate at least getting one or two opinions on all this, at least getting my insight in some and a straightforward answer for another part. I'll give this another try next year and get another opinionated insight into all this, but I can see how next year's awards turn out by then, but I still appreciate some insights overall that I can find.
Give me back my game of golf, Sonic!
Now, of course, in this case, it does have a bit of a mixed outcome, and there is a case that this event still have a fair share of issues. Now, I've already delved into the discussion during those one or two sections talk about the indie styles of Clair Obscur, and went against that case that I've seen the instance of being more of the night of two issues that have sprung up. Here there are some bits that occurred beforehand that I hope we can see have a fix in the future events. And the focus once in the actual show, one big debate that is often discussed and seen as wanting to be improved has to do with the focus of the balance of award wins and announcements. This has been one of the occurrences that's been an issue for the last few years, as these award shows barely give the winners a chance to thank everyone and rush them off, just for the case that they give Hideo Kojima like an extra 10 minutes under the presentation or whatever he's just making at this point in time. And it's noticeable that most of the event is often made up of big announcements for new titles, but barely give much time for the games and the winners. In about a 4-hour show, which is about the same length as the likes of the Oscars, this is one that does provide a question of giving the winners a little extra time to have their speeches and not be pushed aside when they are halfway through them. Now, I'm not expecting the case for Christopher Judge's 8-minute speech about 3 years ago to be the norm here, but given a case give some time and effort for these developers to creatives who have had their say, and their thanks for those who paid their money and time to play the titles over the last 12 months, but this is just kind of my approach in this. As for the one that is established and the issue that comes in before the award shows, this comes down to the issues of the jury bias, as well as some that specify the this year's ones being kind of rigged in terms of game of the year. This is the case that about 90% of the vote is done by a jury that may not be the most versed in games awarded, and the other 10 is with the public, that while yes, get the public vote option and get their vote for their favorite, it's not as much the bias that comes from those that are not as versed in the medium. Some streamers even in creators of line have even emphasized about being seen rigged and not too corporate, as well as some saying that other titles should have been nominated for better nomination awards this year, like Arc Raiders, Silent Hill, Ghost Yotai, DK Bonanza, Blueprints, Dispatch, and many more. This is too messy in regards. Whether the likes of these will be addressed or have a bit of a staying power in the future is uncertain, but hopefully this will be a bit more of a transparency soon enough, because this will come to the effect of overtime that some may be against it all, and things will hopefully improve for a better outcome, but I guess we can see in due time.
The cards will tell.
So we have one last section of focus before we wrap it all up, and while we can speculate and choose easy with the choice of this awards, it's now time to predict the ideas of some things as to what we may expect to see for the announcements of new games or new looks as ones that have already been announced. Now, there's been a few that have been confirmed to be shown this year's event, which includes a new look at Resident Evil Requiem, which I think leaked certain characters already confirmed in it from a cover on the PlayStation Store. Exodus, Invisible Versus, Phantom Blade Zero, and Total War are some of the titles that have been confirmed to be making a presence at these award shows, as expected for big events, confirmation by the studios, and the usual fare for the likes of something that is expected to be revealed close to release, including, just as I was before recording this a couple days ago, a new Tomb Raider announcement was on the way, as well as the case likely Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight is also confirmed for this. I can see the likes of some of these other titles that have already come out and get some insight of some DLC or expansion announcements or shadow drops, like the release of the new dungeon for Clair Obscur, or the other console port releases for Hades 2 for PlayStation and Xbox being unveiled, or even an official release date for the fourth Borderlands for Switch 2 after it was delayed from early October this year, but I guess we can't say for sure as of yet, but I see a fair amount of these studios looking to give their insights. This comes in the focus that then the realm of speculation with each big company brand probably unveiling something for their console or their company. For PlayStation, I see this with a new look at the title of Ceros releasing in March, or a possible new look at Insomniac's Wolverine, but I think that one was specified the next appearance to be in the spring. But who kind of knows. One that is a bit up in the air about being shown is Naughty Dog's new game Intergalactic, that while the title has essentially been confirmed not to be coming out this year, it could still see a look at the title, or perhaps even get an idea of the second game they're working on at the same time, which is either a new IP, a return to an old franchise, or even a possible Last of Us Part 3 announcement, but right now it's kind of unclear. With Microsoft, it can be a difficult one to see who's left from the many studio dismissals this year, but I feel two titles that may still have a chance of reveal is with the newest prequel in Gears of War E-Day, and in the case of knowing Kojima will be present, as he gets more often than not at like a 10 plus minute presentation for anything. I can see him with a focus of his next Xbox title of OD or his new PlayStation title if isn't, but it's hard to say. And I feel the other games that could get a reveal from the consoles from new gameplay and a release date for the new entry of Fable as they seem the most likely. And as for Nintendo, I can see some new looks and maybe one or two exclusives that the console, or a reveal of a new games like a 3D Mario title or something like that. But I see for any form of Nintendo content, maybe just with a new clip or look at the upcoming Mario Galaxy may be likely, and then maybe a proper new look or release date for the Duskbloods from Software. But it's kind of unclear on what to expect, but they seem the most likely. Then of course, there's this. So for the last few weeks, Keighley has been teasing a mysterious display or monolith in the desert near where the award show is taking place, and it's cryptic in the focus. A lot of people are speculating on what is supposed to be teasing. And so I theorize that it's either teasing an Elder Scrolls 6, a new God of War entry, or a new series in the Diablo series, but most have been debunked to not be connected to it. I could see in this case being a possible teaser for a few different games, like there's Prototype, there's a new Doom expansion or title, but the idea of it is not very clear. Some have been clamoring that it's either one of two options as well. As I mentioned, a Bloodborne 2 announcement could be from this, or a PC port of the first game, or a possible Half-Life 3 reveal, but it's kind of unclear right now, and likely we finally get the idea of it by the actual show's event later in this week. And as for ones I want to predict as to what will occur, but maybe a little bit too elaborate, I can see a possible new look at GTA 6 being shown, a new look at 007 First Light, gameplay at the Okami sequel maybe, or new look at it that was announced last year, or even a possible announcement of some sequels or new IPs from some acclaimed companies. Something I feel maybe a little too far-fetched and would be hope for possible chances with the seeing Beyond Good and Evil 2 make a return again, as it's still confirmed in production. Like you see rumored Assassin's Creed 4 remake revealed that's apparently been leaked from ESRB ratings. I hope for an eventual new Rayman title, or a third Epic Mickey game, or even the likes of some other remakes or new entries in some popular IPs, like a new Crash platformer or a proper Spyro 4 or something in that capacity, but it's kind of really hard to say on that. These can be a lot to speculate and what can be revealed from the event, but I'm sure we can see a surprise of what is shown from the event, but I guess all we could do is see what is unveiled at this overall event itself.
Ah, the French.
And now we come to the end of this very long discussion and talk on video games for another year. And I will say it is a very fun time to talk and predict on what is going to be nominated and try to guess what could win. Besides the case, my prediction record has been sort of solid from the last few titles. I'm not trying to humble brag, in case like I know it's a case a lot of times with this or the Oscars kind of thing. It is noticeably I do get a lot very accurate with a few odd mixes ups. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if the odd picks will happen, but I would say no matter what Tyler games get the prizes per category, I would say this is the true fantastical job for many of them and have shown their worth and effort for even some of the games that may not have been nominated but were still enjoyed by many, including one to me that like may not be listed on this, maybe much smaller, but someone special to me made it, and I think it's a game of the year to me. But I will say it's a very strong year for gaming this year with so many banger titles, and I'm optimistic about the titles in the way of the new year, and I hope will be just as strong next year as it was this year. And I'm all for playing more of these games on my channel and in my own time, when of course I have the energy to do so when I'm not busy from working and all these other videos, of course. But I do want to know your own thoughts as to what choices and let me know down in the comments of this what games do you see as being the big winners for each category and event, and what titles will be revealed or new looks at. And also let me know if how accurate or inaccurate I am in the comments as well. Tell me I'm a fucking idiot. Now let me know what you think down below, and we will get to talk on what the big winners and some of the big reveals in the Weird Mind episode that's coming out later this week. But for now, I will leave it at that. So as always, you all stay being wonderful people. Have a great day every day, doing many great things, and keeping you because no one else could you do. And I shall see you all in the next time we do this category. So let's do a 4 for 4, whatever the case is, and some other stuff. So thank you for watching. So good night, everybody. Good night.